This screencast is going to continue our discussion of some of the new colonies that are popping up on the map in terms of the British colonies that will eventually become the 13. So far, we've discussed Virginia, Maryland, and the two colonies that make up eventually Massachusetts, and we'll discuss a couple more right now. So Charles II, monarch of England, at this point in history, he's going to give a lot of land that England is claiming in North America, kind of along that east coast. He's going to give away a lot of this land to different nobles because he's in a lot of debt. Since the monarchy's in a lot of debt and doesn't have the money to pay back, to the nobles, he's going to pay them back with land claims instead. So this is how the different territories of New York, the two Carolinas, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania are formed. They are basically all just given to different aristocrats as a means of the British Crown paying off money that is owed to them. Specifically, looking at Pennsylvania, I do want to go into that one just in a little bit more detail because it has an interesting backstory. The aristocrat that's given the title of Pennsylvania is William Penn. Go figure, that's where the name Pennsylvania will come from, William Penn. And the interesting fact about Penn is that Penn was a Quaker. And so to be a Quaker meant that you were a pacifist, meaning you don't believe in wars, okay? A lot of times pacifists and Quakers in general in England were kind of persecuted for their political beliefs. So Pennsylvania will actually become a safe haven for Quakers. And yes, if you recognize the picture on the screen, this is the same character who is on the Quaker oatmeal boxes. That's William Penn. But this is the colony that Benjamin Franklin is going to be born into. I want to introduce really quickly the Navigation Acts, because that's going to be a big turning point in how the colonists that are living in the Americas and the American colonies, it's how they view their relationship with England back home. Because keep in mind that anyone born in a British colony, or even someone who's migrating from England into a British colony, they are still British citizens. But that view is going to change over time, which is of course why we have the American Revolution, but we'll get there at a later time. Remember mercantilism, that idea of making money equals power, and the more money a country makes, the more powerful they are. Well, England's going to start wanting to actually use its colonies in North America, its British colonies, to make more money for itself back home. They basically want to put policies into place that are going to benefit the mother country back home, which kind of goes against what some of the colonists who are settling in America left in the first place. They left to form economic opportunities for themselves, and now some of these policies are going to hinder them and actually benefit the mother country back home. So one way England does this is by passing the Navigation Acts. The Navigation Acts are going to give England control over goods that are being exported out of and imported into the colonies, so kind of making sure that England is the primary benefactor of all of the commerce and trade that's happening inside of the colonies. Okay, so for example, if certain countries wanted to trade with England, if certain countries wanted to trade with the colonies, like whether they wanted to trade in Virginia or Maryland or Virginia, or I said Virginia first, Massachusetts, okay, or Pennsylvania, they may have to actually first go to England and pay a tax to England before they'd be allowed to go and trade in the British colonies. Or more importantly, let's say all that tobacco that Virginia is planting, right? Tobacco, which was very valuable throughout all of Europe, not just in England, but a lot of times, the Virginian colonists were planting tobacco, cultivating it, and selling it to French merchants or to Spanish merchants, because whoever pays them, they're happy just to make the money. Well, England realizes that tobacco is so high in value, they start requiring that all tobacco is shipped first to England, and then that England gets to be the one that sells it to the different European countries. And so then the colonists don't get to make as high of a profit. They kind of lose their higher profits off of this kind of cash crop in the Chesapeake region. So because of things like that, the colonists are really gonna start to dislike England's control over them, and we're going to see that control kind of come into the picture and go away, come into the picture, go away. But in the beginning, when England did start kind of trying to mandate these rules, the colonists were resistant, and some of them actually would, just disobey the rules and would smuggle things in, trade illegally. But it is kind of setting the stage for the revolution that's going to happen, a century later. Okay, we're going to stop with those 2 points today. I'll wrap up the chapter in class on Monday. I hope you all have a great weekend.